Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm excited about bringing on my first guest, who is Shawna Moore. She's the owner of Moore Wealth Management. Shawna, you have blossomed since I have met you. I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do. I want to talk about your book. I also want to talk about your podcast, because you have grown so much since I met you, and congratulations on all of your success.
Thank you, Carol. It's great to be back. Again, my name is Shawna Moore with Moore Wealth, and I basically grew up in the business. My parents were in the business since before I was born. Was not in my plans to get in the business, but I did, and I'm really, really glad and grateful that I had this opportunity, because I've been able to help a lot of people throughout over 25 years in the business of helping people plan properly for retirement income planning. And it's, we really work for our clients, and we're fiduciaries, so really we're completely independent. It doesn't matter what company or who's going to offer the right account for each client, but we really want to dive into each client's personal situation to make sure that they can maximize their income without running the risk of running out of money in retirement. And things have really changed over the last 25 years.
Especially very recently. Things have changed radically. I want to talk about your book, Retire with More, the holistic approach for relaxed retirement. First of all, I want you to tell everybody a little bit about the book and what you mean by a holistic approach. And I think it's wonderful. Wouldn't everybody like to retire and be relaxed? Wouldn't that be great?
That is the goal. Everyone's worked so hard for decades before getting to retirement that our goal is to help people retire and be relaxed and have peace of mind going into retirement. So really the book kind of talks about how we operate, my background, how I've helped different clients, and things that we've really seen that can be a problem for some people, because not every advisor works with the same approach. Some advisors are, hey, everything should be in the stock market, annuities are bad, and really they're looking out for potentially themselves before the client, rather than looking at what's going to provide some guaranteed income for the client in retirement. They don't want to lose that money that they're managing and those management fees. Or there's the annuity agent out there that says, hey, the market's too risky, you should get out of the market as you get closer to retirement. Or like we've run into clients where they were advised 10 years prior to retirement to put almost 100% into annuities, and that locks that up. They don't get as much growth, and you don't have the inflation hedge. So holistic approach, meaning we're going to look at the whole picture, and we're going to find the right balance between how much should still be in the market for your inflation hedge, for your liquidity, for those unexpected expenses that come up, and then how much should be safe in potentially the right type of annuity to provide some guaranteed income that sits on top of any pension income you might have, your Social Security income, if you have other income sources like rental income, and really what amount do you need safe? Because as we've seen lately with the market being as volatile as it is, if you needed to take money out for your expenses right now, and it's all in the market and the market's down, now you're selling when the market's down. And that's the opposite of what you want to be doing. So holistic approach means we're looking at everything. We're factoring in inflation, we're factoring in taxes in retirement, things that are out of our control, and making sure that you have a safe income plan for retirement, that you don't have to sit there and go, well, I have to sell my stocks when the stock market's down. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, I didn't account for enough growth. Now I'm going to run out of purchasing. My purchasing power is down because it's all safe and it's not earning as much as inflation. So it's really about looking at the whole approach.
Now we're going to open up the lines of the audience for everyone to get entered in to win her book. It's Retire with More, MOORE, and that's a holistic approach for a relaxed retirement. And our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. We're going to talk a little bit about also your podcast that you also do. I want you to talk about that real quickly.
So my husband and I, although he's been kind of a little bit off the podcast just because it's baseball season, it's our son's last year in high school, and so we do weekly podcasts for all the different topics, just so that we can keep in touch with our clients or those that are looking to work with another advisor. Or we've sometimes had people say, hey, we found this and we're just going to listen to that, just to provide as much education as we can out there. Important. So that even if we're not the right fit for someone as far as their advisor, if we can provide some help to someone and that helps them with their retirement, we're glad to provide that. So there are so many different topics to discuss, and things are always changing. So we're doing the podcast in addition to coming on here and helping people. So.
And thank you. And it is all about the education. That's what you're all about, is educating people. Now you can check her out on the website, which is Moore, MOORE, wealthtalk.com. Write this number down. It's 833, the number 4, My Wealth. That's 833-469-9325. We've got our lines open here for everyone to get entered in to win her book, Retire with More, MOORE, a holistic approach for a relaxed retirement. And our number here is 602-277-5369. We got to talk about the market.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been we've gone off to a rough start, and there's a lot of things that are out of our control right now. And whether that's going to last a long time, some people are extremely nervous and afraid, and we have other clients that are, and myself included, that think it might be more short term. It's going to be a little bit rocky. But again, if you're investing in the right allocations, the right portfolio, you have the right mix, it's really just partly just kind of have to write it out. It's one of those things. But again, if you were retired now and everything you have is in the stock market, it's more scary for you than someone who maybe had to have more diversification, have some safe investments, or if you're still working and you're not needing to take withdrawals. So there's a lot of different things to factor in. We've had many conversations with our clients about what's kind of going on in the market, and part of it is just to not panic. Now, if you're doing it yourself, you might be more panicked, and I understand that. It's very understandable. Money is in your retirement savings is one of the most personal things that you have, and you have a lot of emotion tied to that. So it's completely understandable to be a little bit panicked. You might also have an advisor that's not really active, or maybe all your funds are in a 401k where you don't really have an active advisor. It's not being actively managed. Those are causes for concern, and where you might want to take a look and see if you need to make some changes. Now, if you're working with someone like the way we work with our clients, we're already on top of that. Even before the volatility started hitting, a couple of months ago, we started making some different changes based on what we saw kind of coming down the line. Now, there's no such thing as market timing. You can't predict that. But if you have the right allocations and you have your portfolio actively managed, it's always worth having a conversation with our clients. We've had only a couple clients who said, hey, I don't want to write it out anymore. So the downside with that is if you don't write it out, it's hard to take the rebound when the market turns back around.
Mm-hmm. Well, I also want to ask you your opinion on people having a second opinion.
I think that's a really good idea right now. If someone is being actively managed, for example, if we take on that second opinion, we're going to let you know, hey, it looks like they're doing the things right, just kind of write it out. But if you get a second opinion and find out that, hey, maybe you have too much risk in your portfolio, maybe you're not allocated properly, it doesn't mean you can't make adjustments. So you still want to be able to make sure that you can get that rebound, right? But it's kind of a lateral move. So if we were to do a second opinion and say, hey, there's some things that are good in your portfolio, there's some other things that maybe we want to shift a few things, it's kind of a lateral move. Now you're kind of protecting against future losses in case there's more turbulence and volatility, but you're also still invested in the market. So when the market does shift and start going up, you can start to rebound on that. But now you're in a better position to preserve some of what you have versus still having that high risk.
I think it's really important for people to have a second opinion. What I also think is important for people when they hear someone like you, I know that you've been in this forever, but you're also young, which I think is very important. A lot of people would say, oh, that's different now, because we need to know, it's about the whole world has changed and how we do things has changed, and you bring both to the table, and I think that's what's wonderful about having you. Also, one of the things that I've learned about you the most is how you personally care about each one of your clients. They're like family to you. It's almost like that, exactly. Where they really come a part of you, and you want to make sure that they're doing the right thing. Obviously, nobody knows what's going to happen in this market, but there's a lot of people out there. If you don't have somebody that's contacting you or that's really taking care of your portfolio, I would say give her a call right away, because a lot of people have that and they think, oh, it's okay. They think no news is good news, right?
Right. And a lot of times, and some people saw that during COVID, for example, their advisor just kind of disappeared and they're running away from that scared. I'm not doing that. I mean, I just had a call this morning and talk to a client, and she's down a little bit, but she understands this is temporary. This is what we can expect, and this is why we also position some of our assets where it's safe and there's no market risk. So she knows she's protected and balanced. And so, if you have an advisor who's kind of running or hiding and not really,
there might be a reason.
There might be a reason that they don't have an answer for you, or they haven't really been actively managing it. And those are the people that probably it'd benefit to have a second opinion, or if you have all your assets in a 401k, or maybe an old 401k that's not really been actively managed, that's another reason to talk to someone and say, hey, can we take a look at this? Can we do something different or something better?
Well, I do want to talk about 401ks when we get back from the break. I think it's very important when you listen to this information. There's so many people out there. I think that it's divided right now of people being scared, right? And people who can just write it out. There's a lot of people out there that don't know what to do. And if you're not hearing from your advisor, please, I implore you to give her a call. Her number direct, it's 833, the number 4, My Wealth. It's 833-469-9325. Check her out on her website. It's Moore, Moore, wealthtalk.com. Also, we've got our lines open here for everyone to get entered in to win her book, Retire with More. That's Moore, It's a holistic approach for a relaxed retirement. Call here at 602-277-5369. So welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Shawna Moore. She's the owner of Moore Wealth Management. Moore is spelled M-O-O-R-E. We got to tell that every time she's on. And there's a reason for that. There's a lot of people that may not go to the M-O-O-R-E, so they don't know. Now, at the break, we were talking a little bit about you, and I always get to know you even more during the breaks. But one of the things that we wanted to talk about is that you have always said that it's not necessarily that you want to be the biggest, but you want to be the best.
Absolutely. And that's important because we could go and hire 10 advisors. We could be a bigger firm, but I want to have that one-on-one because like you said earlier, our clients are like our family. They're like our friends. So it's like an aunt, an uncle, a friend, a sister, a grandparent, a parent, whatever their age is. We really take them on as family. We like to hold events for our clients as well where we can actually have some fun like we've done Christmas events and things like that. And just really treating them in the best way possible, both, outside of doing their retirement income planning, but also doing their income planning and making sure that they're put in the right accounts for them, that we're doing the right things. And that allows us, we're independent, which allows us to find the right account. But it's not about being the biggest. It's really about being the best and looking at all the different things and not overlooking something. Whereas a lot of advisors really specialize more on, say, growing your assets while you're working. And then when you come to retire, they say, oh, just take Social Security at 62 or wait till 70. They don't really do a lot of the actual planning because they're not prepared for that. They're not educated on that. And so that's what I mean by the best. It's not overlooking any stone.
Well, what you had said to me is that you have a client that we recently spoke to, that the reason why she went to you, not for all the other reasons, but also because you care.
Yes.
Because you really do put everything into what I've seen your work. I've seen what you do. We've talked about it literally on the show. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing what you put into it and the amount of work that shows that you care.
Right.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the best feelings I have is when people know that I care, whether that's coming on board or unfortunately we've had clients lose spouses and I may not be able to take care of some of the other parts of it, but I can help with the financial part of it. And it's super important to me that my clients do know that. And so when they recognize that, that's huge for me.
Now, the other thing that we wanted to talk a little bit about is your age. Mm-hmm. And because a lot of people are surprised when I say, well, it's so great to have somebody like you, which is so true. But you have another reason as well. Go ahead.
Well, being is, I'm still young. I'm not planning to retire anytime soon. So that becomes a question for a lot of people is that they want to make sure I'm going to be around throughout their retirement, not just today. And I don't plan to retire because this is something that I can do and, maybe not take on new clients at some point, but I can still continue into, my 50s, 60s and beyond. But I've been around a long time. So I know all the other things to look out for that a lot of advisors that have only been in the business 5 or 10 years may not know. So it's that right combination of things.
You bring the old school and the new school together.
Absolutely.
Is what you do.
Exactly.
And by the way, she was born into this, so it's in her blood. Now, we also have our lines open here for everyone to get entered in to win her book. It's Retire with Moore, M-O-O-R-E, The Holistic Approach for a Relaxed Retirement. And our number here is 602-277-5369. And toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. Check her out on her website. It's Moore, M-O-O-R-E, wealthtalk.com. I want to talk about the 401ks because it's so important for people that have them. And what do they do?
Absolutely. So, most people a lot of people have a 401k or a 457 or a 403b, some sort of employer plan. And there's some mistakes that people can make with those plans that we want to kind of discuss because it has come up over time. One of them being that sometimes people aren't taking advantage of those. They may not be maximizing the employer match, and that's the closest to free money you can get. So whatever that match is, if it's 3%, 5%, 6%, try to match that. That's my number one recommendation. Beyond that, it's always a good idea to talk to a financial advisor to say, should you contribute beyond the match or are you better off contributing to an IRA? But at least match or maximize that because that's something that can really help you build your retirement. And a lot of times people are only doing the minimum. So they're only doing an automatic, say 2% or 3%, where they could afford to put more in. And then they get closer to retirement and they go, well, there's not very much in here. There's not enough to retire because they just thought, I'm just doing the automatic amount rather than really doing anything with that. And that's partly because there's usually not a real active advisor for those 401k employer plans.
I think a lot of people, they don't even realize they can.
Absolutely.
I've seen that where because they did it so long ago, mm-hmm. and maybe it was mentioned real fast.
Right.
But then they didn't really
They're in a
remember
new
that.
job. I get that. And a lot of times we also see is that people forget about a 401k plan, or they leave it at their old employer when they go to a new employer. And again, it's not being managed. So when the market's volatile, who knows what's happening to that plan? They're not keeping an eye on it. So making sure that when you leave an employer, that you either you can usually move that to your new employer 401k plan, or you can roll it over to an IRA. It's not a taxable event, and you can have an independent advisor help you manage it from there. So at least it's being invested properly. It's being looked over for you. You're not going to forget about it and have it go, and then go, well, I don't know, that company's no longer in business. Where did my plan go?
Right.
So it's really important to make sure you keep track of where all your accounts are at.
I do want you to talk a little bit about when you work with you, how you like to work with people. We have the time. I think it's important for them to hear that you really take the time to get to know them. Now,
Yes.
get to know their story, and you work with them and make a plan for them. It's not just I think you said it's a 4-prong, or I can't remember which one.
3-prong. Yes. So we really want to sit down and have a conversation where we want you to talk to us and tell us your story, what you're doing, what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve. Now, we have the expertise as far as how do we put that together. But I look at us, even though I'm a financial advisor, more of a financial coach. So I take all of that and I can put together a plan. But I have to know things like what do you have as far as 401ks? What do you have for saving? Do you have IRA? Do you have any Roth 401k or Roth saving? That's another thing, is a lot of people aren't aware of what the difference between the Roth, which is going to be tax-free income in retirement, versus the traditional, which is going to be all taxable. So we look at all those things. What are you doing outside of that? Do you have regular savings? Do you have rental income? Do you have an inheritance coming? All those different things, and really look at how do we take all of that and build the income plan that's going to meet your income needs. You might have a mortgage right now. But is that mortgage going to be paid off in retirement? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So we want to know all these different things so that it's kind of like going to the doctor. If you go into the doctor and he just starts prescribing you something, and that's what we've heard from a lot of people. They go to an advisor, and in the first meeting, someone's trying to say, oh, we're going to do X, Y, and Z here. You need to sign here. We don't do that. You're going to sit down. We're going to talk. You're not going to sign anything. We're not going to even give you necessarily a recommendation. We can educate on some ideas, but I can't really put together that recommendation for you until we actually go through the process on the back end and get back together. So we take our time to make sure we get it right. Again, going back to not necessarily being the biggest, but being the best.
Right.
Is that we want to take our time. We want to get all the information so we're not overlooking something. I'm not just trying to look for something quick to be like, here, go into this, when I don't know if it's the right thing. If you went to your doctor and they didn't listen to your symptoms and they just said, hey, I think you should do this surgery and take this prescription, you'd probably say, wait a minute, you don't even know what's
wrong with me.
Right. So the same thing when you go to an advisor. If you go to an advisor that's kind of rushing that process, that to me would be a red flag. That's something I would say to be concerned about.
I really think that it's also very important too for people when they hear this is that they understand how you work, right? Because again, most people out there are all they're trying to do is get you to sign on the dotted line.
Right.
I also want them to know that you work with everyone, but you like to work with women. That's another thing that
Yes.
you do. But also that you're not looking for that person that has this giant portfolio of money. Because everybody, can retire, and some people don't even know they don't even realize they can.
We've had clients that have over $1 million and they think they can't retire. So, but then we've had clients that have less that think they can retire, but because of their spending, they can't retire. So it really kind of depends. What do your expenses look like? What does retirement look like for you? Are you going to be traveling? Are you going to join the country club? All those different things factor in. And so we want to be honest with them. If we say, hey, I think you need to work a little bit longer, we're going to tell you that. Or if we go, look, if you work longer, it's just going to be more cushion, but you could retire tomorrow and you'll be okay based on what you've saved and what your expenses are. So that gives people kind of that peace of mind knowing, hey, if I end up wanting to retire sooner, I get fired, whatever, they know that they have a plan in place.
I would like to know that. I don't know about anybody else out there, but personally I would like to know that I can retire, because a lot of people don't even realize they can. And so again, we want you to know that first of all, she does take this holistic approach, which is the look at the whole entire picture. And then, of course, she helps people that are going to be able to retire with her to learn where they're at in their life, right? And you also help them with making that plan.
Right.
So, and again, right now, with the market the way it is, please have a second opinion. This is the most important thing that
Very
everybody, and listen up, everyone. It's so important. Have that second opinion. It can't hurt in order to do that. It'll make you feel better as well. If you are not hearing from your retirement person, please Call her. Her phone number again, it's 833, the number 4, My Wealth. That's 833-469-9325. We're going to leave our lines open here so that you can call throughout the rest of the show for her book, Retire with More, Moore, the holistic approach for a relaxed retirement. Again, you can call her at 833, the number 4, My Wealth, or go on her website. It's more, Moore, wealthtalk.com.